Welcome to Radiant Midlife, the podcast for women who know they're here to lead differently. I'm your host, Tara Preston, midlife matriarchal awakening and transition guide, sacred nourishment and feminine prosperity mentor, creator of the Flower of Life Akashic Healing Method and certification, serving women globally for over 14 years. Here we explore midlife as a sacred portal of rebirth, a time for cycle breakers, visionaries, and mothers of new paradigms to awaken their power and rise as matriarchs. Each week, we'll dive into soulful conversations that blend the spiritual and the practical, from feminine leadership, womb wisdom, and prosperity to holistic wellness, hormones, and herbal support. Everything you need to feel nourished, radiant, and free in this next evolution of your life. Because midlife isn't an ending, it's the beginning of your most powerful chapter yet. Before we begin, I'd love to gift you my free ebook, Sacred Nourishment for Midlife Radiance, a beautiful guide filled with nourishing rituals, herbal wisdom, and feminine prosperity practices to support your vitality and radiance. You can download it through the link in the show notes. Welcome home. Enjoy this episode of Radiant Midlife. Hello and welcome to the Radiant Midlife Secret Series podcast. I'm your host, Tara Preston, and today I'm here with Carolyn Anne Sykes. I'm so excited to dive into her topic today. It's not your hormones, it's your liver. And we'll travel the spiral and see where this conversation goes, but I'm really excited to dive in. Carolyn, I'm just going to take a brief moment to introduce her, and then we're going to hop right in. Carolyn is a traditional and 5 elements Chinese medicine practitioner, energy healer, and mentor for women navigating midlife, menopause, and profound life transitions. She's the creator of the Three-Phase Menopause Solution. I love that. And the founder of Raise Your Gaze, where she blends Chinese medicine, embodiment, meditation, and feminine energetics to over 25 years of experience in the field of healing and consciousness. Carolyn's work is grounded, practical, and deeply transformative, helping women move from depletion into their next chapter with confidence and grace. I love that. That's such a piece that's so near and dear to my heart. So welcome. I'm so curious about where this kind of midlife, speaking to women in midlife, where that kind of began in terms of how your work supports them. And I'm sure that probably relates a little bit to your own journey, but yeah, go ahead and share.
Yes, so thank you for having me. I keep getting a little bit of a glitch, so I might turn my camera off to help at some point if needed. But
Sure.
Basically, I've been an acupuncturist since 2015, and it's due to who was coming to see me and what they were coming to see me for. And then that was where my kind of experience of treating women in midlife grew from. And then in 2020, I took an online, I gave birth in the first lockdown, and I was at home with my newborn baby, and I was at home more than I'd ever been at that time. And I basically took an online training. It's an advanced Chinese medicine training in menopause specifically. And I took it because I wanted to help my midlife women more. And then I learned more advanced Chinese medicine. And it's with Chinese medicine, it seems complex, but the more you know, the more simple it gets. It's it's common sense. And it's aligning with nature and the universe, and we're part of nature. So it's once you start to recognize patterns, you can quite easily form a diagnosis and treat in a very powerful way. So that was what I learned to do specifically for menopause. And then after that training, my results with menopause just started getting so good. And then I was like, this is interesting because I haven't been through the menopause myself.
Right.
And I don't believe so. I'm 44 this year. Okay.
Yeah.
So, and I haven't had any perimenopausal symptoms at all. So I believe that is because I live and breathe what I do, but also, how interesting that I've dedicated my life to helping women in menopause when that's not actually my story. It's just where life has taken me. So I've followed that thread of chi, and it's where it's taken me, and it's where it's educated me. And it's actually, yeah, I find it quite fascinating.
Yeah, well, you said a couple of things that had me curious, like what is common sense about it, but also like what kind of symptoms were you seeing with midlife women, and how was your work meeting them there?
Okay, so shall I start with what sort of symptoms?
Yeah, start there. You kind of did
Yes.
answer it, but I just really love that you brought that forward. Yeah, it might reveal itself too as we talk.
It's kind of like an intertwined answer, really, because the way that I
Mm,
practice is through the lens of the five elements. And so the five
yes.
elements in Chinese medicine, they're very seasonal. And so each
Mm-hmm.
season is a different element, and each element has its own organ that's associated with it. And
Mm-hmm.
so, depending on the symptoms that are presenting in the
Mm-hmm.
patient, will depend on which organ is at the root cause of that
Mm-hmm.
pattern. So, for example, a woman could be getting night sweats, okay, or hot flushes without
Mm-hmm.
sweat, or
Mm-hmm.
daytime sweating. Those are three different types of hot flush. And so if it's night sweats, it's more related to the kidney as the root cause organ. And so then what I would see is other symptoms that fit that pattern of kidney presentation
Cool.
with
Right.
her. So she'd have things like sore joints, and fatigue
Mm-hmm.
and anxiety, but more of like panic attacks kind of anxiety.
Mm-hmm.
And then with the liver, it's more daytime heat that comes as a
Mm.
rush, but it's not sweaty. And then they've got
Right.
waking between 1 and 3 a.m. and finding it difficult to get back to sleep, and outbursts of anger and migraines and unexplained pains in their body as well.
Mm-hmm.
And like strong emotions of all kinds. So the liver houses anger, but all
Mm-hmm.
emotion will upset the liver. So when there's really kind of like strong suppressed emotion, it usually agitates the liver. And then, like for the heart, is spontaneous daytime sweating. And they may
Mm-hmm.
have insomnia where they can't fall asleep. So when they first go to sleep at night, it takes like 5 hours or 3 hours to get to sleep when they first go to bed. And they've got some kind of anxiety, but it's different to the kidney anxiety. It's more like palpitations in the heart and a feeling of dread. So they're quite specific symptoms that point to one of the elements or one of the organs. And then
Mm-hmm.
it starts to become common sense when we think about how the five elements are seasonal, and how if we live in tune with the seasons, it
Mm-hmm.
naturally balances those five elements. And then if we keep living with the seasons year on year, it compounds in our
Yeah.
energy field. And then things just start to get better and better and better as time goes on. Whereas most menopausal women are led to believe that things are going to get worse as they age.
Totally. Yeah. That's exactly what we're wanting to dismantle with this secret series.
Yes.
That's beautiful. And I think, one of the themes and something I talk about in my work often is like how long so many women have overrode the natural feminine cycle
Mm.
and how it leads to so much depletion. And I know, speaking to depletion is, something that you also referred to as well. And also, I think it's really cool that there's three types of hot flashes. I've never heard
Yeah.
anyone break it down like that before.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's
exactly.
amazing.
Mm.
And yeah, yeah. So what does it look like to like live seasonally to you? Like what does that look like?
Okay, so obviously we've been in the winter season recently. We're
Yeah.
just coming out of
Mm-hmm.
it now. So this is kidney
Mm-hmm.
season.
Mm-hmm.
So what the kidneys want is
Ah.
it's just like year on year, we start to become more and more intuitive with this as well, because our body will tell us what it wants in different seasons. So it wants more rest. It
Mm-hmm.
wants more like warm food. It wants almost like to
The
hibernate.
yin.
It wants more sleep,
Mm-hmm.
and it does not want like tremendous goals on January the 1st, and then I see people out running in shorts at 5 o'clock in the morning in the freezing cold rain, and then they'll probably go home and have a freezing cold smoothie. It's like that's not what the kidneys want. in the middle of winter. They want the
Right.
exact opposite of that.
Right.
And then as we come into the spring, as the energy of nature rises up and everything in nature starts to bloom and grow really fast, we get this uprising of energy in our system as well. And then that can lead, if it's unharnessed energy, it can lead to things like migraines. It can lead to, excessive energy that can turn into anxiety in our bodies and, like outbursts of anger and things like this. But actually, if we hibernate more in the winter, then we can do a really gentle liver detox at the beginning of spring. And then that kickstarts our energy, and it actually kickstarts any weight loss as well. So that we could actually, like, say in January, we wanted to lose weight, and that was one of our goals for the year. This would be the best way to do it. So you're going with nature rather than against it.
Yeah.
And you just rest more in the winter. And then, it's like your seed is under the ground and you're nurturing it. And then it's starting to pop in spring. And that's when you can use the energy of nature to help you reach your goals. So you can start with the liver detox, eating spring greens, getting out in nature more. And then we move into the summer season, which is more about the heart. And the heart's all about joy and love and connection and being with people, social events and being outdoors and late evening parties and all of this kind of stuff. Then in the late summer, it's the spleen season, and the spleen season is all about harvest. It's the earth element. It's all about our nourishment, but also our boundaries. So like if we've got an earth element that's out of balance, we won't have very strong boundaries and we'll be over giving to everybody else all the time. This is one of the major things that we do see, that when we get to midlife, the body just says, no, I'm just not doing that anymore. Isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then in the
All
autumn time, it's about
with the key.
Letting go in autumn, and that's what we call cough and cold season, but it's actually because the energy of the lungs is weaker, and so it allows more pathogens to invade. There's probably no more pathogens around at that time of year, but we just like are more susceptible to them because our lung energy, if it's not looked after, that's the low season for the lung.
Okay, beautiful. Oh my gosh, I love that. There was a question in there, the liver. Speaking of the liver, because that was one of the things. Now I'm 48, but it was around 44. Then I started to notice like I had like more water retention and just things felt really sluggish. And what else was going? I did have I was getting just a tiny bit of heat in my system, but not sweating, just a tiny bit. I was like, that's different. And then I don't know, I did I like to cleanse occasionally, but it was more liver focused. I didn't even know. But that was when I connected. I was like, oh, like everything is running so much more efficiently because I stopped and really took care of my liver. So then I was like, ding, ding, ding. That's kind of an important piece. But go ahead. Can you speak to that? Because,
Yeah, definitely. So I think as well, as much as we've got these cycle of the seasons every year, there's kind of like seasons of our life as well. And so when we're young children, it's usually the spleen that's going through its weak time. And as our digestion is actually like building, our digestive system is developing. But then as we get into midlife, it's more the liver. That's kind of like the focus organ of that whole time of life. And then as we get into older age, it's more the kidneys. So it's a massive theme. But I do believe, because we say in Chinese medicine that emotion is the strongest cause of disease. So dis at ease doesn't necessarily mean, you've got a disease, but emotion is the strongest cause. And it's like years and decades of suppressed emotion and just like living too fast, so we haven't had enough time to process if we've had traumas in our life, if we've been through major, which we will have been by the time menopause comes along. We've been through major transitions, we've been through births and deaths and letting go, and we haven't really given ourselves time to process any of that. Then it just starts to create like a massive like almost like a traffic jam of energy in the liver. And if you're stuck in a traffic jam, you just want to get moving. And so this energy in the liver, it just wants to move, it just wants to express, and it just keeps getting jammed. And eventually it's just going to come bursting out. And it comes out as hot flashes.
So what are some signs of liver stagnation? Like the emotional piece you talked about. Sorry, where there's a little lag. I talked over you a little bit.
Yeah, don't worry.
Signs of liver stagnation. Okay.
Mm.
Okay.
Yeah. So there's lots of signs, and some of them can be more
Okay.
subtle than
Yeah.
others.
Mhm.
It's kind of like a
Mm.
feeling of being oppressed, a feeling of like something's eating you alive from the inside, a feeling of being trapped, almost like you're trapped by your own life. Like you've become
Mhm.
bigger than your life and you need to break out of it. Like you just can't stay small anymore. But
Mm.
it's almost like you're the caterpillar in the chrysalis and you have not become the
Mhm.
butterfly yet. So you're in the mush stage, but there's something inside you that's just trying to burst out, but you don't even know what it is yet. So it creates this like a lot of confusion and overthinking, and
Yeah.
this whole thing of I don't know who I am anymore. I don't recognize myself when I look in the mirror. There's all of that, and then there's the obvious, the frustration, the short temper, lack of
Mhm.
patience,
Mhm.
headaches, insomnia, and like classically
Mhm.
waking between 1 and 3 a.m. and not being able to get back to sleep.
Yeah.
And the hot flushes,
Yeah.
the daytime hot
It's
flushes.
so fascinating to me that and hot flashes.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. It's so fascinating to me too. Like I see a lot of correlation between the liver and the womb.
Oh, yes.
Do you
Yeah.
see?
So
Yeah.
I've never seen it
Okay. Yeah.
actually written, but I would say, personally, I would say that the liver almost is the womb in Chinese medicine, because when we talk about the five elements, we
Okay.
talk about those five major yin
Mhm.
organs: liver, heart, lung, spleen,
Yeah.
kidney. So the womb isn't mentioned as an
Yeah.
organ, and I would put it with the liver. I'd
Right.
put them two as the same,
Yeah.
in like
Okay.
classed as the wood element.
Interesting. Right. Okay. Oh, I just could keep
Yep.
going down that rabbit hole.
Oh, definitely. I'd love
So
to.
go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say about manifestation, right? So manifestation is almost like a
Mhm.
two-piece scenario. And so the liver begins it because the liver holds the vision. So it's almost like if you've got a clear vision for
Yeah.
your outcome or your life, that's the liver that's holding that
Yeah.
vision. But then
Mhm.
we need to be able to
Mhm.
birth it. And
Mhm.
so we have to birth it through the womb.
Right.
So the liver's
Right.
holding the seed almost, and then we have to
Okay.
gestate the seed, grow it in the
Yes.
womb, and then birth it into
All
life.
right. Okay, interesting. All right. Well, that's very cool. And when I look at the womb, there's a season for seeds to be planted to hold the vision of what it is that we will be birthing. But I
Mm.
love this connection to the liver, and I really am curious to explore that more. And thank you for bringing that forward. One of the pieces too that you mentioned as well is yin energy. And I feel like with a lot of midlife women, because they've been really, we're born into this system where we're conditioned to override our system, a lot of going, doing, pushing. And so they come into midlife oftentimes, and it's like the idea of like yin energy can feel really foreign sometimes.
Yeah.
What's your like kind of process for just holding women to, yeah.
Yeah. So, well, I have to be in that yin space myself. And so it's about me, as you say, holding that space for them, but then also teaching them how to recognize the space and then practice it daily so that they can expand their capacity to hold that frequency of their own. So I do have daily practices that I
Mm.
teach, and I do in the beginning stages, I sit with women and do the practices with them until they hit the tipping point where they feel like it's almost like a new skill, like riding a bike or something. Once they're on their own without the stabilizers, they can do it on their own. But until then, I'm doing it with them, like I am the stabilizers.
Hmm. Totally. Yeah,
Because
it's
in
kind of
the
like a little bit of nervous system regulation,
regulation
co-regulation.
is
Yeah.
co-regulation, exactly. Yeah, yeah. Because you could read about it in a book, but you're never going to be
Yeah,
able
that's
to learn
beautiful.
that alive technique from a book, because the monks always used to say, would you
Right.
rather read about what chocolate tastes like or would you rather eat the chocolate? It's like, well, yeah,
Hmm.
I'd rather eat the chocolate,
Hmm.
and then you get
I
the
love that.
alive.
I
Yeah.
love that. Yeah. Do you want to tell us a little bit about your, is it a 3-point system or
Yep.
three-phase menopause solution? Yeah, why don't you
Yes.
talk a little bit about that?
Yes. So the three-phase menopause solution. Okay. So this is kind of the journey that women go through when they come to work with me. And then from that, I've
Mhm.
created a certification where I can teach practitioners how to take women through these 3 stages. So basically, what will usually happen is they'll come to me with their list of symptoms. And so we'll
Right.
begin with discovering the root cause organ and using Chinese medicine treatment and life kind of coaching to
Right.
overcome the symptoms, get the system back in balance. Okay. But if we just do that, that's just sort of like getting rid of the symptoms. But what menopause really is it's an invitation to, it's an initiation, isn't it? It's an invitation to awaken
Mm-hmm.
and to emerge as a
Mm-hmm.
new identity into our second spring. And
Yes.
so the second phase is
Yes.
more, as you say, the nervous system regulation, and then holding a new frequency, a frequency that can be lived
Yes.
even whilst we're going about our busyness. So once we know how to tap into the yin frequency, we can become it, and then the body will
Mm-hmm.
start to manifest more yin because we're being it. So
Mm-hmm.
we become who we are. And
Yes.
then in the third phase, we
Right.
go more into like womb work. And I do take it to like more of a spiritual kind of realization of the different spiritual levels and the like process that the soul goes through in the awakening of our purpose.
Mm-hmm.
Because some women get to midlife and they still
Yes.
don't know what their purpose is. Whereas I feel like I'm quite fortunate that all this work I'm teaching to women at
Yeah.
midlife now, I've been doing it since I was in my teens. So it's like
Yeah.
when I learned what's
Right.
required for menopause, I was like, that's how I live. That's what I've been doing. And that's why I felt I was so uniquely
Yeah.
qualified to actually be the one to share this with women. And so it's quite a personal
Absolutely.
journey,
Mm-hmm.
but it goes through these distinct 3 phases. And in the third phase, we go into more feminine energetics as well, looking at the mother wound, looking at the sister wound, and then like really kind
Yes.
of like healing trauma and that kind of thing. So,
Mm-hmm. Beautiful. That's really all encompassing. Yeah, absolutely.
it
Really
is.
important pieces.
Yeah. And
Do
so
yeah,
like some
go
people
ahead.
would
Yeah.
come and they might not go through the whole thing. They might just be in one of the phases and they might just do
Oh,
the work from one of those phases. So, you
wow,
know,
that's cool.
yeah, it meets people where they're at.
Hmm. Interesting. That's so neat. All right. All right. Okay. Well, share with us a little bit about the second spring. Like you just touched in on it. We've kind of had some threads, but do you want to just deepen into like I've heard that phrase before. I love it, but yeah, just to deepen into that.
Yeah. So it's kind of like when so we think of the 3 distinct phases of womanhood. Okay. There's
Right.
the maiden, the mother, and the wise
Mm-hmm.
woman. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's like when we become the maiden, we go in through a transformational portal. We've gone from being a little girl to being a woman. And as you
Right.
know, in the West, there's no like rite of
Right.
passage for that. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And so some of the problems and stuck emotions and energies can get stuck from there and then they
Yeah.
can remain in the system. And then when we're the maiden, we've almost got this like false sense of confidence. Like I remember when I was in my maiden phase, I thought I knew everything. Do you know what I mean? And it was like,
Yeah.
it wasn't a bad thing because it made me really bold and I went out
Right.
there and went after what I wanted and things.
Yes.
But I wasn't sure, like, I didn't actually know as much as I thought I knew. And I needed to go through a lot of failures and a lot of experiences and a lot of trying different things to actually realize who I
Mm-hmm.
am and what
Yeah.
works and how life works and what doesn't work. And so by the time we get to the third initiation, which is the menopause, this is
Mm-hmm.
when we actually have done all that trial and error. And so
Mm-hmm.
we're more comfortable with who we are and
Right.
we more boundaried and we will take less nonsense from people as well, but
Right.
we're actually more wise and we know how life and the universe actually work and what
Mm-hmm.
works for us and what doesn't. And so we can enter a new phase where we've got all this wisdom and all this lived experience. And then, like a lot of the menopause symptoms, whether they're emotional or physical, they're not negative. like if we see them all the way through, they're actually a portal of themselves. So we go through the initiation into a new realm, and it's a very bright and very positive and very, just full of potential
Second
for a
spring.
second half of our life.
Yeah.
Exactly. But we're going through it as a different person this time. We're going through it with someone, as someone
Mhm.
with wisdom, you know?
Yeah, it's so important. I find, a lot of the work with the Akashic records and the mother wound and just it's a lot in the beginning about recognizing failures as not as failures, but like recognizing where we're holding on to different life experiences as failure, getting the wisdom, pulling forward the lessons so that we can kind of weave that into the foundation of like who we're becoming, allowing it to shape us as a
Yeah.
part of our strength, our wisdom, and our power in midlife. So, I feel like that's a part of like not all of what you're saying, but a part of an important part of what we're saying. Cause I see so many women let that really hold them back. Like they can really like
Yeah.
wallow and it disconnects them from dreaming again or from, believing in the vision, a deeper vision that they have, or even letting themselves vision or dream again. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if
Because
you
we
want to talk
say in
about that
Chinese
more, but yeah.
medicine that each one of these gateways that a woman goes through, so becoming a woman, becoming a
Mm-hmm.
mother, and then becoming the wise woman, when we go through
Right.
those portals, which we've got no choice, we're going to go through them, they could either
Mm-hmm.
make or break us. It's like they
Mm-hmm.
could make us stronger, but if they're
Yep.
gone through without consciousness and without the right tools, it could go the other way. And I think that's what you're seeing as well, is that like they're
Mm-hmm.
allowing those failures to define them as failures,
Mm-hmm.
not as learning experiences, not as gained wisdom. And so it can go one of two ways when we go through that portal. And so having the right
Yes.
support is so vital.
Having the right support, totally. And we touched on this on one of the other podcasts, and I was just saying the importance of choosing your timeline, like through
Yeah,
midlife. We don't have to do
definitely.
it how other people are doing it, or maybe how our mothers did it. Bless them and their journey, or
Yeah.
maybe our grandmothers. Like we can envision a different timeline for our aging and our power and wisdom as women. So, yeah, I love that you're sharing all of that.
Yeah, and I just want to take it full circle back round to the liver
Sure.
again,
Yeah.
actually, because I'm thinking
Sure.
about when I created It's Not Your Hormones, It's Your Liver, like how that
Yeah.
came about was from sitting and listening to women, and they would tell me, this is my hormones. I'm getting this symptom because of my hormones, and I'm here because of my
Right.
hormones, and I'm waking in the morning because of my hormones, and I'm feeling like this because of my hormones. And in my head, I'd be thinking the whole time, it's not your hormones, that's your liver. Like every
Yep.
single thing they'd say would be a liver thing. I'd be like, it's all your liver. So let's
Mm-hmm.
work on your liver first and see then if you actually do need hormones or not, rather
Mm-hmm.
than chuck a load of hormones
Mm-hmm.
on top and the liver's still out of balance underneath.
Mm-hmm. Totally. I think there's so much, our symptoms give us so much feedback. There's so much we can do. A big part of my message is partnering with the body in midlife. Our symptoms are
Yeah,
clues. We can
yeah,
strengthen our whole body foundation, which just becomes a part of the foundation for what we're stepping into. But we have to kind of stop buying into this idea that, we're so broken and this is the end and this is how it's going to be through this menopausal gateway. So that you're doing such important work. Um, yes, I feel like there was one other thing that I wanted to kind of weave into the conversation, but it's eluding me now. So,
okay,
share with us a little bit about, I'll just kind of start closing things out here, but if
okay.
there's anything else, I'll just check in with you. Is there anything else actually that you would like to share, just kind of on a final note as we do close things out? I think this was really informative and so much wisdom here.
Yeah, so like what it is for me, what's really coming up for me currently in my work is looking at deeper energy reserves in the body. So I'm
Mm,
seeing a lot of burnout, and I do think that burnout and menopause symptoms tend to mirror each other. So it's kind
right,
of like a chicken and an egg situation. Is it the menopause that's burning me out, or is it my burnout that's causing my symptoms that look like
right,
menopause symptoms? you know.
Right.
And so I think it's about energy, but it's about many levels of energy that aren't known or understood in the West. And when a woman becomes aware of what the reality is of how her energy is actually presenting at any moment or any kind of like
Yeah.
life stage, she knows exactly where she is and exactly what to do next. And
Mm-hmm.
so that's kind of where I'm really focusing in with my work with women at the moment, is taking them through like an
Beautiful.
energy audit of 15
Mm-hmm.
different levels of energy, and then
Yeah.
showing them visually, this is your current picture and this is
Yeah.
what we need to do in order to infuse
Yeah.
more energy into all of those levels. And
Yeah.
then that energy kind of like infuses out, radiates out
Yeah.
into all areas of life, like light.
Beautiful. Yeah. Does that tie into your free gift at all? I was just going to have you
Oh,
share a little bit about
it
your free
does
gift.
actually. Yeah, I
Yeah.
created a PDF
There you go.
to give women the basics of where to get
Great.
started and how to increase their chi. It
Yeah.
says it's increase your chi in menopause, but it's for women of all ages, really. And
Right.
even men. I mean, it's for people.
Yeah.
When
Right.
we increase our
Yes.
energy, the
No,
body
I'm
knows what
kidding.
to do with that energy and it can use it
Yeah.
for what it needs to do.
Beautiful. All right. So we'll make sure and place a link below so you can access the free gift. We will do that. And then also let us know, where's your favorite place to hang out on the socials. We're going to put all your social links below, but sometimes if they're listening, it's just easy to kind of go there and click.
Yeah, it's Facebook. I got rid
Right.
of my Instagram recently because I can't keep up with it. I just
Yeah.
can't, I don't feel it's a true representation of me. Whereas on
Yeah.
Facebook, I can go live, I can do longer
Yeah.
posts. I'm on there 2, 3 times a day. So it's definitely
Me too.
Facebook.
Yeah. Okay. Great. Okay. Well, thank you so much for joining us. And
Thank you for having
if
me.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you have, again, always, here's my invitation to the listeners, just recognizing, what really stood out for you. What was your most important insight or takeaway? Getting that clarity and, maybe reflecting on, how can you honor it? What's one step or just kind of like one way you can take that insight, that awareness, that aha, a little bit deeper to honor your own radiant midlife journey. All right. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll talk to you all soon. Bye for now.